Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Self-love through freedom and connection. So feel free to connect to the brave never fall on these social media platforms. If you find anything of value in this following podcast, hit that like button, subscribe and share, and support the brave and bold tribe growing one purposeful soul at a time. How are you feeling? Take a moment to do a self-check-in for yourself. How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling spiritually? Are you feeling balanced? Are you still journeying on an intentional, purposeful path? How are you feeling? Balancing yourself is a healthy, daily practice that will reliably keep you in harmony with your entire mind, body, heart, and soul. Clear your mind. Take a moment of silence for yourself. Right now, in the moment. You are here now. How are you feeling? One can only see so much during the day. The light blinds us from what is much more beyond. And beyond anything, any concept, any reality, any dreams, any days of doubt that we have for ourselves, any days of enlightenment we have for ourselves, there's always something beyond that. There's always something more. Do we always listen to ourselves and trust ourselves that there is something more? Not all the time. A lot of us, most of us, are going to have days and weeks, stretches where we just don't believe. Things change, things happen, and all of a sudden our lives become this jumbled mess of clustered potential. Things that could go one way, things that we thought could go one way, and they end up going another way. And as much as we try to force ourselves to correct course, we seem to always end up in the same spot. The spot of choice, the spot of being in a place where we're at a crossroads and we have to make a decision. We have to move forward. We have to trust that even though we may feel as if we're going in the wrong direction, somehow we instinctively feel that it is the right direction. So we take the risk and we go. And you don't look back because you know everything has already happened behind you. There's so much more ahead of you, so much more beyond. That word beyond is important. It's powerful. That means there isn't something that is finite. There isn't a wall that you're just going to stop at. There is something beyond that wall. There's something more there. There's something tangible there. There's something that you can turn your dreams into reality. But you got to get to that wall first. And you have to trust that you can not only get to that wall, but go through it and see what is beyond. Beyond our current way of seeing, believing, and accepting in life is the unknown truth of who we are. Hidden in plain sight within ourselves and beyond ourselves are the answers. The answers to the most important questions we can ever ask ourselves. Why am I here? And what is my purpose? The disciplined dedication to the endless path to purpose and beyond is within us all. We all know our lives will end someday, some morning or some night, and the window of our existence grows smaller each day. We say goodbye to our former selves each second of the day. Each moment is another opportunity to inch closer to our life-changing goals. We are the stars of our own solar system. Our responsibilities, priorities, obligations must be achieved, or we fail at the very things that define us, gives us value, and gives us strength. There are things throughout the universe we cannot see, and we will never see. Yet we know there are endless opportunities and possibilities of life happening. Planets being born and stars dying, galaxies colliding and light being inhaled by black holes, an endless cycle, caught in the dance of life. To think of ourselves as only flesh and bone is to diminish who we are as human beings. We are far more than we know, even if we cannot see it. We are so much more. If there are unforeseen limitations for who we can ultimately be, we must attempt to get as close to those limitations as possible. It's our birthright to face our boundaries and self-imposed limitations, then push through them. A life of pure, true, fulfilled purpose. We are not valueless. We have so much more to offer. First and foremost to ourselves, but ultimately to the world. The impact we have on ourselves, our loved ones, and those who we support and guide us is more than enough reason to see beyond ourselves every day. Life, Episode 8, Life Beyond the Stars. Beyond is an absolutely great word. If you can break down that word and really think about what that word means in any context of anything in your life, it just simply means more. More potential, more growth, more knowledge. And who doesn't want more of that in their life? Who wants to sit back and not grow? Who wants to sit back and look at life like it's some type of a experiment for themselves and there's no consequences involved? It's just life. We've been talking about a lot in this color wave about looking beyond what's in front of you. Looking at the ocean, knowing that there's something underneath. Looking at the atmosphere of the earth and knowing that there's so much more beyond that. clarity is everything. What you don't see is out of sight, out of mind. We do this in a lot of things in our life. Each and every one of us. We all know that we look at things a certain way because we've gotten used to what we're looking at. It's another way of saying we're comfortable, we're content. We don't know what we don't know. We're not trying to look past what we already have constructed for ourselves in our life. So to speak, just literally defining ourselves by what we know. And not accepting the fact that just because you build a fence doesn't mean you can't add on to it, that you can't decorate it, that you can't paint it, that you can't tear it down and build up a new one. Our lives are no different. Our lives are the exact same as those types of concepts. And we can get stuck in the mud, so to speak. We can just get stuck and start thinking of ourselves as finite. We start thinking, this is who I am. And that can happen at any age. That could happen to you in your early 20s. It could happen to you, your 80s and your 90s, depending on what type of lifestyle you had. But I think we all get to a point where we say, is there more? And if so, what is it? There are people who have done magnificent things in this world. They've gone on to do things that they probably never thought they would do in their lifetimes. Does that mean they should stop because they exceeded their already, finite expectations they have for themselves? Or should they look beyond that and say, yeah, I did that. Perhaps I should be doing something differently. Should I be adding on to this thing that I already constructed? Am I looking beyond? I've arrived at a destination. Am I content with where I'm at, or do I choose to keep moving forward? Am I making decisions based on fear? I don't want to go on because I know that there's something ahead of me that could really mess me up. And I've done so well up to this point. I'm just so afraid something might derail me. So I'll just be safe. Being safe sometimes can equal contentment, but can also equal resentment for yourself if you get too far down the line and realize you had a lot more in the tank and you did absolutely nothing with it. It's like going to the gas station, filling up your vehicle, and instead of traveling and going around and seeing different cities or going to see different states, you decide to just go out to an empty parking lot and drive in circles. Just driving around in circles. Aimless, no direction, no point, no purpose to it, but you're doing something. You're doing something, right? You're content with just sitting in your car and going around in circles. We all do this. What's beyond the vehicle that's full of gas and going around in circles? What's the potential there? What's beyond that? Beyond that is, let's stop going in circles and let's go explore. If nothing else, let's go see what we can find. You don't always have to have a destination to get somewhere. I'll repeat that. You don't always have to have a destination to get somewhere. Sometimes you can just get in your car and drive and see where it takes you. You won't get lost. This isn't the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. We have GPS. You go somewhere now, you can literally get in your car and drive in any direction. You'll find your way back home. All you got to do is just turn on your navigator. It'll guide you right back to where you started. So where is the risk? And if there is a risk, what is it worth? We'll talk more about risk in a future podcast. But what's more important than taking risks in life, is just knowing, just starting with the knowledge, the potential that you do have more. And if you happen to burn up all the gas doing the circles and going nowhere, you know that you can always refill that gas tank and do better the next time. Maybe you are going around in circles right now. That doesn't mean you can't refocus or quote unquote refill up the gas tank and this time actually want to do something else, even if you don't have a destination picked out. There's so much more. Jumping past our limited beliefs about ourselves as far as where our potential is and where our growth may lie is important. Pushing yourself every single day to know, to the extreme of I know there's more. I won't accept this version of me because I know there's more in there. I'm not going to cap myself out and say, I'm done. There is so much more every single day to explore about yourself. I think the trick is finding what that is. Every single person is different. Every single person is unique. We all have our quirks and our hobbies. So what worked for your best friend may not work for you. What worked for the teachers and mentors, what they taught us, may not work for us in the long run. We change as people. So it's up to us to really find out what we're capable of and where we can go, how far we can go. Do we really want to go there? Those are questions we have to ask ourselves. I think deep down inside, every person wants to see a certain version of themselves. You know, we wonder about it all the time in our brains. I'm sure if you listen to this, you've gotten to a point where you thought, what if I was like this? And it's safe to think that way because you don't actually have to act on it. So it's safe to just dream up in your mind or fantasize about certain lifestyles. We all ask ourselves the question, what would we do if we won the lottery? If we had this, if we had that, if we were married to this person, what would we be like? What would people say if I dressed this way? What would people say if I wore makeup or did not wear makeup? What would people say if I took this job instead of this job? We think about this stuff all the time. Regardless if we act upon it or not, it's in our subconscious. We're thinking about it all the time. We're always thinking about ourselves in a way that is not in reality. And it's comfortable. It's easy to do that because you're thinking to yourself, I am in reality, so what's the harm of me envisioning myself this way? There is no harm in it. But I will also say there is some harm in it if it can be attained and you're looking at it like it's a fantasy. If you walked up to a brick wall, you don't see any openings, there's no doors. But you look up, you could climb over it. But you don't want to, you can't see what's beyond it, so you're a little afraid to do it. Sooner or later, you have to make a choice. You're just going to stand there and stare at the wall, or you're going to turn around, go back where you came, or you're going to get curious, take a peek over that wall and see what's beyond it. I would hope that most people would have at least enough courage to take a peek over. Just take a look. What's the harm in it? You never know. You might see something that is life-changing for you. You might discover something about yourself. It might make you feel a certain type of way. Something could happen where you would be in a place where you can expand upon it. You can grow upon it. Or say, no, whoa, that's not for me. And look what you accomplished there. You still accomplished something because you know that there's something that you don't want to do. How do you know until you try? And how do you grow without going beyond your current self? How do we get to a place where we want to be better? We want to be empowered. We want to have, freedom in our life. We want to have financial security. We want the best relationships. We want all these things in life that most of us will define as a utopian life. We want things that make us feel good. The things that we see in films, the things that we read in books and we see in magazines, on social media. We want these things in life, but somewhere in us, we put a limited belief alarm on there. And as soon as we get too close to perhaps going down that road, the alarm goes off and you kind of snap out of it like you're waking up for a dream and saying, whoa, what was that about? I got to get back to my contentment. I got to go back to being comfortable. Or you could say that alarm wakes you up in a different way and says, get going. Stop procrastinating. This is where you should be heading. It may be the unknown, uncertain, maybe fearful. You may have a lot of doubt. How do we take care of those things? We eliminate those things by adding in trust. If we can pull enough power into the trust area, we can get rid of all those unknown doubts and mysteries about how much fear we actually have, how much anxiety we actually have, how much our limited beliefs actually do run our lives and every decision we make. Because we get to a crossroads moment or we get to a place in life where we have to make a hard decision. And if it's not a safe decision, it makes us uncomfortable. If we don't know the outcome, if we don't know how it's going to make us feel, or we feel like we're going to hurt someone emotionally, it causes us to say, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't do that. The question is, are you trusting yourself in that moment? And is that trust coupled with you making sure that you're taking care of yourself first in those situations? You can't go beyond yourself if you don't know yourself. If human beings had the capability of actually exploring the universe in real time, and it wouldn't take us thousands of years to get from star to star, could you imagine a scenario where we could do that? We could actually go and travel to these different solar systems and different galaxies, but we only chose to go to a couple and then just say, screw it, we're done, and just start going around in circles in open space. You would look at whoever is the director of that mission and say, what the hell is wrong with you? Why aren't we going over here? Why aren't we going over there? And the director would say to you, well, we don't know if it's safe or not. What do you mean it's not safe or not? We've been here, we've been there, we're out here. What are we doing? Well, we just wanted to kind of put our foot in the water. We have no intention of going any further than this. We just want to get out here and prove to everybody that we could kind of do it, and then we're just going to go around in circles. No. You would look at that person and say, do you need to be, on some type of a medication? Why are we out here doing this if you're just going to go around in circles? What was the point of all that if we're just going to go around in circles? And that's true to you. If you were out in the stars, you wouldn't just go to one planet, one solar system and call it quits. If you had the power to go visit more, you would. You would keep going beyond and beyond and beyond. We have to do these sorts of things in our lives. And it doesn't have to be monumental. It doesn't have to be what somebody else is doing. If somebody else's life is based on becoming a millionaire, that's their life. If you're just happy to have a $50,000 a year salary and you want your house and your kids and that's your contentment, I salute you. You are living your purpose. You're living what brings you peace and joy and happiness. And that's all that fucking matters. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. What matters is, are you doing what you like to do for yourself, what's best for yourself, and ultimately the people that you have priorities with and obligations, your family, your friends, your co-workers, your churchgoers, whatever it is that you do in life. If you're content and happy, great. But even with that, there's still a beyond. There's still a beyond. There's still more about yourself that you could explore to even make that better. There's always something better. We don't want to get caught in stasis. You don't want to get caught standing still at a moment where you're going to be tested, because no matter how comfortable you are, you will always be tested. You would never meet a person and be with that person and both of you live forever. One of you is going to die before the other one. Reality. Same with our children. Same with a job. It's not going to last forever. Same with your car and your house. Anything could happen to take it away like that. You've been standing in stasis, not growing, not experiencing new things, not having any clue about what plan B is in case something goes wrong. Excuse me, when something goes wrong. Something always goes wrong. Something always will set you back. The people who are content with themselves trust themselves that no matter what happens, they're going to be ready. How do you know you're going to be ready? By accepting the fact that in the meantime, you are exploring more about yourself. You are strengthening your soul through experiencing new things, visiting new places, meeting new people that are aligned with your values and your principles and your morals. Keeping yourself in a place of peace and joy, yes, but also a place of strength and power. Strength and power. Nobody likes to get caught with their pants down on the wrong day and something happens and you aren't ready for it. You aren't ready for it mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, and you won't know that you're not ready until it happens. We can't prepare for everything in life, but we can prepare for certain things that we know are going to happen. And that is not being fearful of what you're going to be like when disaster strikes, when chaos ensues, when people start getting toxic. These are things you have to work on for yourself. How much do you actually know about yourself? I don't know if we can, anybody can answer that question and say, I know this, this, and this, but you don't know what you don't know. Wouldn't you like to know if there's more? How many people do you know in your life that you can see that do one thing very well and they refuse to do anything but just that one thing? And they're fine with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But the same person will look at you and say, you're doing too many things because you have more than one hobby. You have more than one interest. There's certain things in your life that characterize you and define you as a person because it aligns with who you are, with your values and things that bring you happiness and joy. They do one thing, you do many. That doesn't mean that this person who does the one thing well doesn't have room to grow. But you have to understand that you're not here to do just one thing. There's so much more to each and every one of us than we know. But we get comfortable. We know that this works, and this works. And I don't want to mess with these things because they work so great. So I don't want to learn anything more. I just want to master these things. Nothing wrong with that. Again, we're all unique people. But we have to be aware that there's always something that you don't know about yourself. And for those who are interested in that, that's where the fun begins in life. When you start not only understanding and being aware that there are more things that you can do, but you act upon it. And we're not talking about in a reckless way where you start changing your life overnight without having any alignment with who you really are. Where you do something that is out of your character, does not align with your values. That's reckless. That's stupid. That's not something that I would advise for anybody to do if I saw them doing it, or if somebody recommended it to me and it's not aligned with what I'm doing, I'm not doing it. We're not talking about being foolish and doing things that are going to break you. We're talking about things that you are drawn to. Things that are kind of like magnetic to you. You can't get rid of these things or these people, these places in your life. They're just things that, you know, if I could do this, or I could visit this person, or I could visit this place, or have this thing, it'd bring me more value and I would learn and I'd be better as a person for it. Those are the things that we're talking about with beyond. We're not talking about beyond stupidity here, or beyond, your current state of mind. We're talking about making good, conscious decisions based on values and morals and principles here. We're talking about making good, healthy decisions, things that will prolong your life, give you even more meaning and purpose when things start to get stale. You ever see somebody who's been in their career, they retire, and then they're looking around like, what the hell do I do now? Just literally have no idea what to do with themselves. They hadn't done anything up until that point to bring in a new layer. And sometimes it gets to be too late for these people. I never believe it's too late, but they believe it. That's a limited belief. The belief that I don't have enough time. I've done this for so long. Why even try to do anything any different? That's a limited belief. Of course you can do something different. You can do something different any second of your life. The question is, do you really want to do it? Or are you going to fight against every new thing that pops up in your life? Are you even actively trying to do something or experience something that you haven't done before? There's always something out there. There's been plenty of things I know that I've tried in life that I thought was going to be the most life-changing thing for me, and it became stale and boring and just did not work. But I didn't attach those things. Like, I was good at certain things that I was wanting to do, truly believing that that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life, or some hobby that I picked up that I'm like, whoa, this is defining me. But down the road, I find out that no, it really wasn't. It was just some curiosity. What I did was I walked up to the wall and I peeked over, jumped over, hung out for a little bit and said, not for me. So you got to jump back over. So what? That's what life is about. It's about experiencing things. I learned so much more from things that I don't even do anymore, but I still get so many different points of view from whatever it is I was working with there, the people there, the community. The more you interact with life, the more you're going to get out of it. Now, again, those are people on the other end who don't necessarily want to do that, and they have every right not to do that. Their quality of life and their way of living is not diminished because their version of beyond isn't equal to yours. This is not a race. It's not a measuring contest of who can go further beyond themselves and do so many different types of things in life. That doesn't mean that you're better. You know, quantity doesn't always equal quality, and vice versa. I just like the concept of thinking beyond everything that you do because it gives you a little bit of extra motivation that's already built on top of things that you know that you're aligned with, things that bring you joy and happiness. I'm a runner. When I ran my 10K for the first time, I could have said, I'm going to run 10Ks for the rest of my life. No, I ran my 10Ks a couple of races, and it's like, okay, half marathon, 50 miles. You just keep increasing it because it's aligned with me. It's something I do want to do. And I may get to a point where I say, running just doesn't work for me anymore. And then people say, well, what happens if this happens and this happens? David Goggins says this best. I will go and figure out what the fuck I can do. If this doesn't work out for me, and this was my life, and something happens where I can't do it anymore, I will go and figure out what the fuck I can do and do that. That's what life is all about. It's not about giving up. It's not about accepting limitations. It's not about walking up to a wall, knowing there's something beyond it, and putting your ear to the wall and not really hearing much, and you can't see anything. So you know what? Nothing over there. I'm moving back to where I was going. Time to go fill up the gas tank and go around in circles again. Aimless. No direction. I don't believe life is about that. I believe life is about going beyond our self-imposed limitations and expectations of ourselves. Diving deeper, really get into our minds, feeling our bodies, finding out about ourselves. If we can even bring ourselves back to childhood, just think about how far you've come in life. You think if you can put yourself back inside of your child mind, your mind probably wouldn't even be able to handle all of the things that you do today, regardless if it's on a small scale, quote unquote, or a large scale, quote unquote. How demoralizing would it be as a child to know that somebody would say to you, hey, look, this is a picture of who you are in the future, 20, 30, 40 years. And this is where you self-imposed your limitations. You decided at this point you didn't want to go any further. You decided to quit at this point. You decided to accept failure and defeat and disappointment. You decided to let a relationship define you. You decided you didn't want to journey any further. You just gave up hope. And you hand all that over to yourself as a child. And what do you think you would say to yourself if you could meet yourself with as a child? I mean, you would be thinking, I chose this? My mind was telling me I was going to do this, and this by the age of whatever. I mean, your childhood brain wouldn't even be able to accept the fact that you chose to limit yourself when, as a child, you have all these things in your mind about what you can do. And I think we lose a bit of that because that childhood mentality never leaves you. You're still the same person. You still have the same memories. Now, when I say same person, I mean it is still you. Yes, by definition, the person you were when you were a child is essentially dead. The person you were 10 years ago is gone. You'll never see that person again. However, that doesn't mean our mind works that much differently. We can still go through the process in our minds just like a child would and imagine ourselves doing things that is inconceivable, because the goal is not always to achieve what you believe you can. It's about getting as close to that achievement as possible and being grateful for the opportunity to do so. It's not always about overcoming the things that you thought you were not going to overcome because you were afraid. You might not overcome them. The question is, were you brave enough to even accept the task? Were you bold enough to actually want to walk up to that wall and not even think about it? No, as soon as you walk up to that wall, you're going over it. You want to see what's over there. Life is about being brave. It's about being bold. It's about trying to see, attempting to see, and creating what you want out of life that's as close to what you thought was impossible as possible. Life is not a race. There is no finish line. So you get to do pretty much whatever you want. You are free to do so. Yes, we can look around us and say, well, we're limited by these laws. We're limited by what city we live in, what job we have, what knowledge we have, what schooling we have, our family obligations. Are those limitations, or is that just your life? They're not limitations. You're calling them limitations. We do this. Everybody, we look at stuff and say, I couldn't do this because this was holding me back. This person was holding me back. Were they? Or were you holding yourself back? Where does the self-responsibility come into play? How many excuses are we going to make for ourselves? Are we going to be able to get to a point where we say, you know, I'm going to struggle at some points in my life. No matter how great I believe my life, quote unquote, should be, I'm going to struggle. Even a child, again, let's go back to that child mind. If a child said, I want to be a millionaire, and somebody walks up and says, you know what? You're gonna beat that by by a landslide. You're gonna beat being a millionaire by a landslide. You're gonna be a billionaire. You're gonna be a billionaire. And the child may say, wow, I'm never gonna have any problems. And that person will have to say, no, on the contrary, you're gonna have countless problems. You're going to have all kinds of challenges every single day because that $1 billion didn't come via a blimp that dropped it out of the sky in a crate and landed in your front yard. You worked. You trusted yourself. You put a good team around you. You had good values. That's how you got that $1 billion. And when you earned it, it was just as hard to keep it. So sorry, kid. No, your life is not going to be as easy as you think, but you're going to have every opportunity to make the life that you want. That's all that kid needs to hear at that point. The goal has been accomplished. Where's all the hard work there? You have to get to the hard work. The discipline, the control, the patience and understanding that life is ticking away, yes, but we have to take advantage of it consciously, attack each day in a healthy, positive way that brings us peace and joy, like a positive attack. We're not being passive aggressive with our lives. We want to make things happen for ourselves. Passive aggressive does not work with your life. Procrastination does not work. We have to get to a point every single day where you're knowing you're not going to waste your own time, that you have to do what's best for you each day. Remind yourself daily of your goals. Remind yourself daily of what you're grateful for. Be grateful for the opportunity to grow. Some people don't have it. There's a lot of people in this world who are starving right now, who are in third world countries, no opportunities for themselves, but yet they can make a difference in their own little communities. They can make a difference in their ecosystem. They can make a difference in their families. Because they realize that life is not just about being in the moment and doing nothing. Life is about being in the moment and prepping for the next in a positive way, knowing you're going to get more out of each moment. Each day, you're going to grow a little bit more. You're going to listen a little better. You're going to achieve things that you never thought you could achieve by chipping away at it. Not by thinking it's going to come in a big block, in a big crate and land in your front yard. It leads us right into our mission for today. And our mission for today is simply to think beyond. Think beyond your potential. Think beyond your hobbies, your talents, your knowledge, how you physically feel, how you spiritually feel, how you emotionally feel. If you can look at anything in your life and say there's a step beyond, What does that look like? If you could go back and tell yourself as a child all the things you have accomplished up until this point in your life, what would that child say? What would you as a child say about your life up until this point? And if you could say to that child, I'm at this point, but I'm going to add this on to the rest of my life if possible. Could you, what would that look like? Because you're essentially at that point, your current self would be saying to your child self, let's see if we can match what's beyond where I'm at this point in my life. It's really interesting to think about it that way. There's always more. How do you define that? How do you define more about everything that is you in life? And that's the mission for today. Defining your beyond. Everything that you do well, every relationship that you're in, every day when you work your job, every Sunday when you go to church, what is it that you can do better that's beyond your current way of doing it, your current way of thinking, your current activity level? There's always more. We have to think beyond. This is your day. You are here now. These are your moments. You own them. You are brave, bold, powerful. You do believe in yourself. You know you have more in the tank. You know the glass is half full. There's still more room for improvement. There is no end. Believe, believe, believe in yourself. Trust yourself. Trust that you can do whatever it takes to accomplish whatever you want from life. You don't procrastinate. You don't embellish. You don't lie. You are true to yourself. Knowledge is in your mind. Peace is in your heart. Balance is in your body. Purpose is in your soul. You are greatness. The sky is not the limit. You have purpose, fulfilling, intentful purpose. You are here for a reason. You are unique. You are self-love, self-discipline, self-respect, self-control. You have self-awareness. You are joy, peace, happiness. You are freedom. And yet you are connected to every person, place, and thing in the universe. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Learn, laugh, and level up.